Hello, I'm Alexandra with Theta Spring Hypnosis. Today I'd like to talk about the difference between hypnosis and hypnotherapy and why each one is different. A lot of people, when they begin to think about hypnosis, they immediately begin to think about stage hypnosis. While that does exist, hypnotherapy is a much different modality in creating change. While most people can be trained to be a hypnotist, not everyone who's a hypnotist is trained to be a hypnotherapist. What will begin to happen is, when you are trained to be a hypnotist, what happens is that you begin to learn how to hypnotize someone, to get them into the hypnotic state. What a hypnotherapist knows how to do is, once you're in the hypnotic state, how do we begin to create the change in the behavior that you'd like? So, while a hypnotist does exist and the modality is the same in hypnotherapy, what you do in the hypnotic state is quite different. What I'd like to also explain is what happens when you enter into the hypnotic state. When you go from the awake state to the sleep state, you begin to go through the three hypnotic states. Light, medium, and deep is what we'll call them for simplicity purposes. What the mind does is, in the awake state, your logical mind is intact. You can begin to think about it as a mesh netting that has a very tight weave. When you begin to let go and almost fall asleep, which is what's happening, truth be told, you are technically falling asleep. And if you do fall asleep in the hypnotic state, you've gone through all the hypnotic states to the sleep state. A hypnotherapist will notice it based on the physiological changes that happen in your body and then awaken you to a lighter state, in the subconscious state, not the unconscious state. But as you begin to go down from the conscious state into the subconscious state, the netting of the conscious mind begins to open up and information begins to pass through. Your logical mind thereby begins to disengage so that you can take in the suggestions that are given to you in the hypnotic state. Now, every suggestion given to you isn't necessarily always created and affirmed as a behavioral shift. What can happen is there is a reject button in the subconscious mind. Just as if you came into a stage hypnosis show, they do find the highly suggestible person in the area, and they can tell them, please go find your belly button underneath the seat. Your logical mind isn't deductively reasoning that your belly button is on your stomach, not under the chair, and therefore is taken in the action to go find the belly button under the chair. Now, if I had told you were going to hate sugar every time you taste sugar, it's going to be disgusting. If you actually do like sugar, that rejection at some point coming out of the hypnotic state, while it might be there for a little bit, will eventually get rejected. Which is why hypnotherapy is very important. We cannot change your palate, but we can begin to create new associations in the mind that the giver's gain is, I'm giving up sugar so that I can gain control, and nothing tastes as good as feeling good is. So that's the difference between hypnosis and hypnotherapy. Now, on top of that, there are clinical hypnotherapists, there are medical support hypnotherapists, all which get trained in different ways. Typically, a hypnotherapist, if you're looking for a hypnotherapist, can and sometimes does have training in a psychological and psychology background. That would be more in the clinical sense, where they can take insurance, they can diagnose. However, a lot of hypnotherapists are not trained with that background because what we work with is self-improvement. Anything medically related would typically require, and usually does require, the referral of a medical doctor. That way we have the support staff to go back and talk with them about your progress. What I find interesting personally for me is that hypnotherapists are a wonderful adjunct to therapy or any other medical support and other alternative therapists. I know that when I'm working with weight loss, I will get the referral of a doctor if it is a lot of amount that's looking to be lost. But what can begin to happen is that I get their input on the medical stuff that I wouldn't necessarily know about. Therefore, it becomes an added benefit to the client. Anything medical related, I probably would suggest seeking therapeutic help. Knowing what's in and outside the scope of a therapist, a hypnotist, and a clinical hypnotherapist, and medical support hypnotherapist is very important in choosing your hypnotherapist. Have a great day.